I hear that bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
That even though it may not be normal for some people, it may be normal for you.
Yes, could be. At that, no, I kind of like that thought.
I'm just really curious. We had this exchange. You were talking about your concern about losing things and what it meant for your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and April's been listening to you. What, Bonnie, as you were listening to the conversation, what is it that you've got the feeling that was concerning Sharon? What would you say was the emotional essence of where Sharon was going or what she was talking about?
Well, I think she appeared to me to be anxious,
Uh-huh.
to be fearful. What if this is happening to me? What if I'm losing it?
Mm-hmm.
And a real kind of anxiety and fear
Uh-huh.
over that, and what to do about it, and how to handle it,
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing for sure. I think there was that essence of, trying to. You had the feeling, but then you weren't sure, and kind of back and forth. So there was that feeling too.
So she didn't know exactly what it meant for her.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
That was the thing that I was feeling from you, was that you were concerned somehow that this pattern of losing things somehow said something about you, that you were losing it.
Mm-hmm.
In some
Whatever
way,
it is,
that
yes.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
like you were losing
Mm-hmm.
your mind, you were losing
Mm-hmm.
control, and you'd been there before,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and you didn't know exactly how to.
And it's like I'm just now paying attention to it, and the reflective listening helped me to really begin to focus down on it and say, now, do I have a problem or don't I?
So that was the thing I wanted to ask you next, is that you were going through the reflective listening. What kind of new awareness about this situation was coming up for you?
Well, I have to tell you that her last statement was fun because it was like, well, heck, maybe this is just normal for me.
Uh-huh.
And if people will take me the way I am and I forgot to call you, well, too bad. It's the way it is. But the point is for me to get okay with that. You see, because I have this over sense of obligation or responsibility to others.
Right.
And if I have said I will do something, for instance, and I forget to do it, or said I would even make a phone call, or that I care about you, and totally forget. And somehow that has been translated to me by other close persons, spouses, etc., as non-caring.
Kind of like the Freudian hypothesis that's motivated forgetting. You're forgetting because you don't care.
Because I don't care. Or because I don't want to, or because
Mm-hmm.
I'd really rather not, and I'm not willing to be honest enough to say so, or whatever.
And you're feeling that you're forgetting because of overload. You have too much going on.
Yeah, that's probably another good point. A lot going on. If I don't keep it all on paper, I'll lose it for sure. There's a lot going on. Very
Right,
busy.
right. Well, these times must really test you then, because there's more than you can handle, and you're making a lot of efforts with paper or what have you to try to keep it all together. People will interpret your forgetfulness as in some negative way.
Yes.
And at the same time, you do maybe feel that you have too many balls up in the air, and yet you can't allow any of them to fall down. And it's kind of a hell, it sounds like, to be in.
Well, it is, and that's a large part of the reason that I've realized that I've kept putting off doing more, because when working for yourself, when you have more than one ball in the air, there's a lot to remember
Yeah.
and to pay attention to and to care about
Right.
and it's like, it's almost like I'd rather just opt out and say, forget it. Give me one thing at a time, I'm fine. Don't give me
It's interesting you
five.
say forget it. I'll just sort of opt out and forget it. It's like forgetting it is a strategy, almost saying, you meaning in a larger sense, I suppose.
I don't doubt, however,
backing out.
that statement is like a subliminal
Uh-huh.
part of me that says I really would rather forget it. I don't. I'm not willing to not take responsibility
Right.
for the forgetting, but at the same time, I've been doing this all my life. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like I discussed the gentleman in the bank, one of my bosses, and I had these pieces of paper, and they're stuffed all through my desk, and it drove him nuts, and he made comment on it. and yet I was able to get the work done, but in the loan officer's position, you have, 40 loans in process at one time, and you have major detail about each one, and it's like, that was my way of keeping track.
Sure. Now they have project managing software, because that's what everybody faces, that kind of thing.
See, now that's what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like other people have this kind of problem too, or am I the only one? It's like at dinner tonight, we met for dinner before class, and the waiter took our orders with he didn't write them down. Not only that, he talked through them. And it's like, how did he remember all that?
Probably remembers it long enough to get over to the cook and
well, but the point
them.
is that I guess some people have better memories.
Well, possibly. I don't know if you're concerned about your memory, deciding what's normal, or at the same time it sounds like that you're also noticing that this is something characteristic about you, that you've been in this situation many, many, many times, and as if you're being forced to contend with something that has some meaning for you. Whether it's, you say at some point it's overwork, or having too much going on, or facing up to expectations of other people. I'm not quite sure what is the, like you might say, the mythical or deeper level that this has for you, but you talk about it as if it's more than just being overloaded or having too much.
I think so, because I've done it even when I wasn't overloaded. So I don't think that that's an excuse for it.
When you say an excuse for it, it sounds like you're feeling, ashamed or guilty about it somehow, that you failed, or
It's partly a feeling of being afraid I'll fail someone else.
So this is a social situation that you're in.
I
It's
think
not
it's
just a matter
indicative
of
other
losing your
things,
keys, but it's a losing a trust with somebody, or losing a special relationship with somebody, or something like that. Huh?
Well, yeah, trust.
Promises to
like
keep.
This woman, I walked all around my house going, please call me, please call me, please call me, sending a mental message, and my golly, she called me. But I could hear in her voice that she was slightly put out, and her first words were, "You forgot me." And I reassured her that I didn't, but I don't know if she was convinced. But then I let her down, and I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
But that was a function of losing that piece of paper. Which is like, what's this? What's going on with me?
Reminds me of me, the class comes tonight and I haven't the foggiest. It's a big surprise when the knock, and I have it written down, but I haven't bothered to look, at it, and say, well, just come on in and I'll adapt, but I'm having to play catch up.
Well, I worked with this a little before we came here with the tape I gave you today, and I did find a couple of insights. One was that I remembered, while I was doing this, I remember a statement from my father that I heard many times, and that was, you couldn't find it if it was right in front of you.
So there's some shame
And,
at your
and
inadequacy
I realized
here.
there was another aspect to it that came, and it's the power of a thought, the power of a statement, how I could take that statement and suck it right into my consciousness and live with it.
Right.
And it's like part of my thinking was, maybe it's that simple. You see, maybe it's not really I think I have a very good memory. I really don't think it's about my memory. I think it's about there's a subjective thought that it undermines me. Now that's my own psychological training stuff, that I look at things like that. But it's a feeling that maybe it's that simple, that it would be perhaps getting hypnotized and have somebody go in and slash that thought out of me, or using affirmations to reassure myself that thought is all that's doing this, that there isn't something inherently wrong with me.
Maybe that's why you've used the word phobia, because it's like you have this underlying sense that maybe this panic that you experience is based on a false premise, that there really is nothing to be afraid of, but that you've come to be afraid of it. This is a sign of you losing your mind. It's you're on the verge of losing all your friends. You're losing all credibility. And we know what Sharon